All right, you sick bastards. Are you ready to deep dive into the mind of Kim Jong Un?
I'm ready.
Okay. We've got a mountain of intel here.
We do.
Wikipedia, some in-depth analysis from North Korea experts, and even a freaking YouTube documentary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to separate the bullshit from the bigger bullshit.
Okay.
And try to figure out what makes this guy tick. It's going to be a wild ride.
It's certainly a fascinating challenge to try and understand such an enigmatic figure. The Kim dynasty has ruled North Korea for decades, shrouded in secrecy.
Right.
So even basic facts about their lives are often obscured.
Yeah, like trying to nail jelly to a wall, right?
Right.
But that's what makes this whole thing so damn intriguing. I mean, who would have thought a future dictator would be raised in Switzerland, attending a regular public school, like some ordinary schmuck?
The contrast is certainly striking. Here's a kid destined to rule one of the most isolated and authoritarian regimes on Earth, hanging out with unsuspecting classmates in the heart of democratic Europe.
It's like raising a great white shark in a goldfish bowl, you know? You have to wonder what went through those classmates' minds when they found out years later who they were rubbing shoulders with. Talk about a conversation starter at your next high school reunion.
I know. Oh, yeah, little Pat Gunn from homeroom. He's running a nuclear-armed dictatorship now.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
The documentary actually tracked down some of his former classmates,
Oh, really?
and their accounts provide some interesting glimpses into his personality. They describe him as generally quiet, a bit awkward, particularly around girls, but with a surprising obsession with basketball.
Basketball.
Michael Jordan was his idol, apparently.
Seriously. You'd think his old man would have steered him towards something a bit more, dictatorial, like, I don't know, competitive pigeon racing or something. I don't know.
It does make you wonder about the rationale behind the Swiss education. Was Kim Jong-il hoping that exposure to Western values might somehow soften his son's edges? Or was it a strategic move keeping him hidden from rivals back home?
Maybe it was all just a giant social experiment. Nature versus nurture. Dictator edition.
Right. It's certainly a question that has fueled much speculation. What we do know is that Kim Jong-un's rise to power was carefully orchestrated, beginning with a gradual introduction into the public eye around 2009. Interestingly, there's even some debate about his actual birth year.
Really?
Sources listed as 1982, 83, or 84.
Wait, they can't even get his birthday straight. That's some top-notch record-keeping there, folks.
It highlights the challenges we face when trying to piece together accurate information about North Korea.
Right.
It's possible the regime intentionally manipulated his birth year for propaganda purposes.
Yeah.
Perhaps to align it with significant dates related to his grandfather, Kim Il-sung.
Propaganda, the duct tape holding that whole damn country together.
Right.
But birth year confusion aside, this dude rose through the ranks faster than a rocket-powered monkey. 4-star general with 0 military experience. How the hell does that happen?
It's a testament to the absolute power of the Kim family. It's all about appearances, strategic promotions, and building a cult of personality. The documentary even mentions songs composed in his praise, hailing him as brilliant comrade years before he officially took over.
Brilliant comrade. Sounds like something you'd find on a knockoff communist cereal box. Seriously, it's scary how effective that kind of brainwashing can be.
It's a system designed to control information and shape perception.
Right.
The documentary shows school children being taught to hate America and view nuclear weapons as their only salvation.
Oh, wow.
It's a stark reminder of how different realities can be constructed when information is tightly controlled.
Yeah, talk about a warped worldview. They're basically force-feeding them propaganda from the cradle to the grave. Yeah. And then you see those staged rallies with Kim Jong Un waving to the adoring masses. Is any of it real? Or are they just scared shitless?
It's difficult to discern genuine affection from fear in such a tightly controlled environment. The documentary highlights this tension, juxtaposing images of Kim Jong Un interacting with citizens with reports of brutal purges and executions.
Let's talk about those purges, shall we? Remember his uncle Jang Song-sek?
Yes.
Allegedly executed for treachery. Word on the street is the dude got chewed up by a pack of hungry dogs. Brutal.
It's a reminder that beneath the carefully crafted image of a benevolent leader, there lies a ruthlessness that seems inherent to the Kim regime.
Benevolent leader. He makes Vladimir Putin look like Mr. Rogers.
Right.
This is a guy who allegedly had his own half-brother assassinated with a nerve agent in a Malaysian airport.
Right.
It's straight out of a spy thriller.
Yeah.
Except this shit is real.
And that brings us to the issue that dominates any discussion about North Korea, his nuclear ambitions.
Ah, yes. The big one. The elephant in the room. Or, should we say, the mushroom cloud on the horizon. The documentary doesn't shy away from it, showing his aggressive pursuit of nuclear weapons, the endless missile tests, the constant thumbing of his nose at the U.S. and South Korea.
It's a dangerous game, and the world watches with bated breath.
It really is.
Yeah.
What is his end game?
Right.
What the hell is he trying to achieve?
Is it regime survival? Global domination? Or is he just a bored, power-hungry man-child with his finger on the button?
Maybe he just wants to see the world burn.
It's a question that keeps experts up at night.
It does. And let's not forget about his health or lack thereof. The documentary touches on his weight fluctuations.
Yes.
The rumors of heart problems, even whispers of diabetes. I swear the guy's got more health issues than a chain smoker in a coal mine.
There has been much speculation about his health over the years, and the regime keeps it very tightly controlled. It's a reminder of how little we truly know about this man who holds so much power.
He's like a goddamn enigma wrapped in a riddle. Well, you get the picture.
Yeah.
The point is, this is a dude who plays his cards close to his chest. But we're trying to get a peek, aren't we?
We are.
We're trying to decipher the code, separate the fact from the fiction, and understand the man behind the myth. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to dig even deeper into the Kim Jong Un puzzle.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
I'm ready.
So hold on tight.
So we've talked about his bizarre upbringing and his meteoric rise to power.
Right.
But now let's delve into his leadership style.
Okay.
When he first took over, there was this naive hope in the West that he might be a reformer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, someone who might actually drag that Hermit Kingdom kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
Yeah, I remember that. People were actually saying he might be a breath of fresh air. What a load of horse shit.
I know.
It's like expecting a rabid honey badger to suddenly become a vegan.
It quickly became clear that he was cut from the same cloth as his dear old dad. Maybe even worse. The purges, the executions, the human rights abuses. It's like a greatest hits album of totalitarian atrocities.
Yeah, it's enough to make your stomach churn. Those UN reports detailing the horrors faced by ordinary North Koreans, forced labor camps, torture, public executions.
Yeah.
It's like something out of a goddamn dystopian nightmare.
And yet, the Kim regime's propaganda machine keeps churning, painting a picture of a happy, prosperous nation, a socialist paradise where everyone skips merrily through the fields, singing songs about the dear leader.
It's mind-blowing how they pull it off. It's like the world's most elaborate magic trick. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about Kim Jong Un's public image. You've got the signature haircut,
Right.
the love of Western luxury goods,
Yes.
that bizarre bromance with Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a cocktail.
Right. It's a fascinating mess of contradictions. On the one hand, you've got this carefully crafted image of a powerful, almost godlike leader beloved by his people. And then you've got these glimpses of a man who enjoys fine dining, expensive watches, and hanging out with washed-up NBA stars. It's bizarre.
It's like he's trying to be a Bond villain and a Kardashian at the same time.
No, right?
It's wild.
It's a calculated strategy, no doubt about it.
Right.
Remember, we're talking about a regime that thrives on controlling information and shaping public perception.
Right, it's like keeping up with the Kims. But instead of a reality show, it's a nuclear-armed dictatorship. And speaking of nukes, let's talk about the big, throbbing elephant in the room, Kim Jong Un's nuclear ambitions. The guy's been conducting more missile tests than a goddamn science fair.
It's a source of constant tension and anxiety for the international community.
Yeah, it's enough to make you want to crawl under your bed and stay there. But seriously, what's the end game here? What the hell is he trying to achieve?
Some analysts believe it's all about regime survival.
Okay.
He sees nuclear weapons as his insurance policy, his way of deterring foreign intervention and ensuring the continuation of the Kim dynasty.
It's like a big flashing neon sign that says, "Don't mess with me or I'll nuke you back to the Stone Age."
Exactly.
Right.
Others suggest he has grander ambitions.
Okay.
Maybe even reunification of the Korean peninsula under his rule.
Now that's a thought that'll keep you up at night. Imagine Kim Jong Un in charge of the entire peninsula. It'd be like watching a chihuahua trying to swallow a Great Dane.
The consequences would be far-reaching, to say the least.
And let's not forget about the economic side of things.
Right.
The country is under crippling sanctions thanks to his little nuclear hobby.
Right.
And yet, this dude is living it up like a goddamn sultan.
It's a stark reminder of the inequality that defines North Korea.
Right.
While the vast majority of the population struggles to survive, the elite live in relative opulence.
Champagne and caviar for them, while the rest of the country eats dirt and grass. It's a real class act.
And the documentary highlights this disparity,
Yeah.
showing the gleaming skyscrapers of Pyongyang juxtaposed with images of poverty and hardship in the countryside.
It's two different worlds existing side by side. And it's a reminder that when we talk about North Korea, we're not just talking about Kim Jong Un and his cronies.
Right.
We're talking about millions of people trapped in this system, denied basic freedoms, and living in constant fear.
Well said. And it brings us to another important dimension, Kim Jong Un's relationship with China. North Korea has always relied on China for economic and diplomatic support.
Right.
But things seem to be shifting.
Yeah, it's like watching a teenager rebel against their parents. Except in this case, the teenager has nukes.
Exactly. He's been trying to assert more independence from Beijing, pursuing his own agenda, even when it clashes with China's interests.
Like with the whole nuclear weapons thing.
Right.
China's not exactly thrilled about having a nuclear-armed loose cannon on their doorstep.
Precisely. And that's created some friction in their relationship.
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act for Kim Jong Un. He needs China's support.
Mm.
But he also wants to project an image of strength and autonomy.
It's like he's playing a high-stakes game of poker with the fate of millions hanging in the balance.
Mm.
And the world is watching, holding its breath, waiting to see what cards he'll play next.
It's a game with no clear winners.
Right.
And it's a reminder that understanding Kim Jong Un requires looking beyond the surface, beyond the propaganda and the bluster, and trying to grasp the complex web of motivations and calculations driving his actions.
It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded and riding a unicycle.
Right. But it's a puzzle worth trying to solve.
Yeah.
Because what happens in North Korea has implications for all of us.
Well said. And speaking of the world stage, let's talk about those historic summits Kim Jong Un had with President Trump. Remember those?
Yes.
The handshakes, the photo ops, the awkward small talk. It was like a reality show gone nuclear.
Right. Those meetings generated a lot of excitement, even some cautious optimism that maybe, just maybe, diplomacy could prevail.
Yeah, it was like watching a lion and a tiger trying to share a steak. Everyone was hoping for a peaceful outcome. But deep down, you knew it was probably going to end in a bloodbath.
Unfortunately, those summits didn't lead to any concrete agreements on denuclearization.
Right.
Some argue that Kim Jong Un was just playing for time, using those meetings to gain legitimacy on the world stage.
Like, he just wanted the photo ops and the free publicity.
Right.
Right.
And the North Korean propaganda machine went into overdrive, spinning those summits as victories for Kim Jong Un, portraying him as a strong leader, negotiating as an equal with the leader of the most powerful nation on earth.
It's a classic case of smoke and mirrors. It's like watching a masterclass in manipulation. And it reminds us that we can't just take things at face value. We have to be critical, skeptical, and question everything, especially when it comes to North Korea.
Precisely. We have to be discerning consumers of information, always aware of the potential for propaganda and manipulation.
Speaking of manipulation, let's talk about the role of Kim Jong Un's family, particularly his sister, Kim Yo-jong. She's been popping up more and more, right? It's like she's the Kris Jenner of the Kim dynasty.
Right. She's become a prominent figure in the regime, often seen by his side at key events, and even representing North Korea on the international stage.
She's like his right-hand woman, his mini-me, his... Wait for the Kim Jong-2, I crack myself up. But seriously, what's the deal with these two? What's their relationship really like?
The documentary offers some intriguing insights into their dynamic. It's clear that Kim Yo-jong wields considerable influence, and some analysts believe she's being groomed as a potential successor.
Wait, hold up. A female dictator in North Korea? Now that would be a plot twist. Imagine the headlines. From stilettos to steel toes, Kim Yo-jong takes charge.
It would certainly be a significant development, and it's a possibility we can't discount. But regardless of who ultimately succeeds Kim Jong Un, the underlying system, the machinery of repression is likely to remain in place.
Yeah, the whole damn country is built on fear and control. The documentary really drives that point home. It's like Orwell's 1984 on steroids. They've got propaganda, censorship, surveillance, the whole 9 yards.
It's one of the most effective and insidious tools of totalitarian regimes.
Right.
By controlling the flow of information, they can shape people's beliefs, their perceptions of reality, and ultimately their behavior.
It's brainwashing on a mass scale. They're basically force-feeding their citizens a diet of lies and bullshit day in and day out.
And it starts at a young age.
Yeah.
The documentary shows children being indoctrinated in schools, taught to worship the Kim family and view the outside world as a hostile threat.
It's like something out of a horror movie. These poor kids are being robbed of their childhood, brainwashed into becoming mindless drones for the regime. It's sick.
It's a stark reminder that we can't just focus on the nuclear weapons or the geopolitical maneuvering. We have to remember the human cost of this regime. The millions of people trapped in this system denied basic freedoms and living in constant fear.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the spectacle, the supreme leader bullshit, the nuclear brinkmanship, but we can't lose sight of the human beings who are suffering under this tyranny. They're the real victims in this whole twisted game.
Precisely. And that's why it's so important for us to engage with this topic, to learn as much as we can about North Korea, even though it can be a difficult and often disturbing subject.
We can't just turn a blind eye. We have to shine a light on this darkness, expose the lies, and hold those in power accountable.
It's about staying informed, asking critical questions, and refusing to accept the status quo. It's about demanding better for the people of North Korea who deserve a future free from oppression and fear.
Well said. So, after this deep dive into the heart of darkness, what's the prognosis? Is there any hope for change in North Korea? Or are we just screwed?
It's difficult to say with any certainty. The Kim regime has proven to be incredibly resilient, adapting and surviving despite decades of pressure and isolation.
Yeah, they're like cockroaches. They'll probably outlive us all.
But history has taught us that even the most seemingly unbreakable regimes can crumble. Change is always possible, even in the most unexpected places.
So what can we do? Just sit back and watch the world burn?
No, absolutely not. We can't afford to be passive observers. We have to stay informed, engaged, and ready to act. We have to support organizations working to promote human rights and freedom in North Korea. We have to pressure our own governments to pursue policies that prioritize the well-being of the North Korean people.
All right, folks. That's the bottom line. We've taken a deep dive into the twisted world of Kim Jong Un, and it's been one hell of a ride. We've seen the propaganda, the brutality, the nuclear ambitions, but we've also glimpsed the human cost of this regime, the suffering of millions of people trapped in this system. Don't let this be just another podcast you listen to and forget about. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay ready to fight for a better future for North Korea and the world. That's it for this episode of The Deep Dives. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay pissed off.